Well, welcome to my banner. And what are we talking about? We're looking at road safety. Now, some 395 people died in road crashes in the first quarter of 2015. Now, this figure, according to the National Road Safety Commission, exceeded the national fatality target of 341 for the period by almost 16%. Now, this morning I've been joined by Chief Inspector Simon Tanko of the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service to discuss these weightier issues. Now, somebody will say, why? Now, I was doing my research. Now, statistically, even when nothing happens, Thursday, Friday, Saturday is when there are maximum road accidents. Friday, Saturday, peaking. Now, obviously, coming to Christmas, Thursday, tomorrow being 24th, Christmas Eve, and then Christmas being on Friday, most of us in the cities will be traveling back to wherever it is we came from to come and become Accra boys and girls. The drivers then load and want to hurry, go and come and pick some of us more to go. And I tell you, it is disastrous. Chief Inspector, thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
This year has been bad.
We may say it has been bad, but compared to the figures we had last year, generally it's quite better than last year. But we know just a single death is a worry, so we cannot say it's all that good. But comparatively, it's slightly lower than what was recorded last year.
I don't know what percentage, but I'm just going to put my head on the line and say about 70% of our road accidents are totally and utterly needless. I don't know what the stats are, but 70%, I'd say, needless.
I think on a larger scale, I agree with you. We normally say that most of the fatalities or the crashes do occur as a result of human error. And as you rightly said, most of them are needless. They are actually preventable.
Chief, let me take you a bit back. You know when the N1 was being constructed, from Tetekwashi towards Fiesta Royal, they had laid the asphalt, and bear in mind that the road was in a deplorable state for a long time before the 3-lane, asphalt came up. But they hadn't finished the Fiesta Royal to Achimota, so they put culverts, cement culverts there. The amount of cars that drove into the culvert because there was no sign to say, that's the end of the road. So you get on it at Tetekwashi and you put your foot down only to meet the culvert at night. I mean, my friend rode his motorbike into it. Friend of a friend drove his car into it. And so I went to Airport Police Station to find out, and it was damning. I mean, can the police not tell the contractor? Who's to blame?
I must say these are some of the upstream defects we normally talk about. But it is also true that we do a collaborative work. As you rightly said, the police liaise with all stakeholders. So in such instances, we do prompt their attention, and some of these things are fixed. But I must say that it is a collective responsibility. And if each stakeholder play its role well, we shall all enjoy a safer road.
As far as stakeholders are concerned, I think the police probably play about an 80% stakeholder role in this road traffic observation and making sure it doesn't happen. But I think you're letting the side down.
Let me be specific here. The core mandate of the police, especially the MTTD, is enforcement. But that notwithstanding, we are also active in education and traffic management. Of course, the investigation of road crashes is also a principal mandate. But let me say that it's not all that bad. We are doing our best, looking at some of the challenges, logistically, human resource. But as it stands now, I think we are doing our best.
Samuel, let me take you to one traffic hotspot, and then maybe you can explain to me why. Again, from Fiesta Royal going towards Tetekwashi. So you're going towards the mall. Now, the extreme right-hand lane filters to airport. Everybody joins the extreme right-hand lane. So there are 2 lanes that would go straight to Temamoto Way and further. And then when they get to the end of the road, they will drive onto the grass verge, they will cut in there, Now, just 100 meters in front of that place are police officers. And for the last 3 years, it has never occurred to any policeman to say, look, let's come 100 meters back to make sure that those who are in the filter lane follow the filter and just get off and go towards airport. But you cannot come on the grass verge and come in. I mean that's a shame.
I was glad in your intro you made mention of indiscipline, and it has been a major problem. I really don't believe we must always see officers before we do the right thing. The sport you are talking about, I know that place very well. The team on the hills, that is specifically the visibility team.
No, apart from that, the motorbikers who come,
they also come intermittently. They come, and I've witnessed in certain instances where they do enforce the laws at that place. But I must say the discipline aspect of our motorists, we all need to be serious about it.
There are no consequences, Inspector. I mean, if nobody's good, you see, every day I'm, driving with the wife, and I say, you know what, we are the stupid citizens. We are here in traffic thinking we're being good citizens. Everybody is passing us. They will get home before us, and we are stuck here. And right in front is a police officer who you were just hoping that he would have stopped this car, even detain him for 20 minutes so I can at least pass him and be glad that, my discipline paid off. But it doesn't. I'm always the loser.
The strategy is usually like certain periods of the day, the management aspect is being focused on. So we do arrest somehow, let me say somehow, but at that peak period, we usually strategically concentrate on the management of the traffic. And as you rightly said, once a while, the motorbikers you talked about do the arrest, but the human resources of the MTTD is such that it is not always that they are placed at that particular point you are talking about. So some of them do attend to other worrying traffic situations elsewhere. And as you rightly said, I think the enforcement, we need to intensify that, and maybe things will be done right.
It comes across as if the police are overwhelmed. You see, because this, again, at this same flashpoint, it would only take, even if it's a constable, to stand there and say, nope, you're going this way. Because as soon as you get to the mall, they don't let people from the far left lane to join the mall anyway. You have to carry on to Tema. And so everybody now who wants to turn to the mall stays in the right-hand lane and obeys the rules. You see, so it will only take one constable to say, nope, once you've driven on the left lane and you're here, carry on to airport, you're not joining. And I mean, for years, and I'm saying this because I use the road 5 times or 6 times a week. I
will give you a practical example. I used to work with the visibility unit, and I remember when we were at that particular stretch, we would simply come and stand, and we actually forced people to use the motorway without the because they were doing the wrong thing. We simply directed all those trying to. And
today, everybody who wants to turn to the motorway tries to get in lane before they get to the junction. And this is only half a kilometer down the road. So, I mean, Chief Inspector, you have to promise me on air that today when I'm going home, there will be a man standing there.
We come on some of these platforms, the feedback, we go back and work on it, as you said.
So I'm talking about this flashpoint. Can you promise me, just one man, to say that once you're in the right-hand lane and you get to that junction, carry on to the Regent Hotel Airport?
I promise I will take it up. And
that's my kind of policeman. Yes. Now, let's moving on to is cars who are, everybody seems to now undertake rather than overtake, because all these pure water trucks stay in the speed lane and they are doing 20, 15 kilometers an hour, minding their own business.
And let me say that even the festive occasion we find ourselves in, the major topics for the police MTTD is not just enforcement, it's education and traffic management. And I believe the education will go a long way to sensitize most motorists. We've realized in Ghana, people hardly differentiate between fast lanes and outer lanes. And even on the motorway, you apprehend some of these heavy trucks and they tell you it is not easy to use the outer because the commercial vehicles disturb them a lot. But under normal circumstances, legally, if it is not a fast-moving vehicle, you are supposed to be using the outer lane.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned earlier, once a while, we have a team purposely earmarked for the motorway and some of these fast or highways, and we do check some of these things. But I believe the education must go down well. We realize most of the motorists do not even know it is an offense to be using a tortoise-paced vehicle on a fast lane.
And I'm sure viewers, if you can test it in there, but you are driving and you see a car heavily laden with charcoal. I mean, talking almost hitting the skies. There's a police barrier. So you stop, they ask you, where are you traveling from, where you going to, you say, hello, thank you very much, you go to the next filling station, you stop to fill your gas, and then this charcoal car comes, and you're wondering, how did it go past the police?
It is also important for us to note that some of the enforcement measures, you need calibrated machines to actually ascertain. And people sometimes talk about overloading, people talk about exceeding the height. For the height, what you just mentioned, it is not too cumbersome to detect. But you need a calibrated or a special device to do some of these things.
When the vehicle is obviously tilted to the left or to the right?
I'm getting to a point.
Okay.
I just want to make it general that it is not sometimes easy to easily conclude some of these offenses. That is why we always pray that we get all the necessary equipment to do that. Thankfully, this year we just received, for the festive occasion, we just received 200 breathalyzers, 200 speed checks, and these are some of the devices we believe will go a long way to ensure efficient enforcement. Efficient enforcement in the sense that when you do arrest and you send them to court, you secure, you will get the courts on your side. And you need some of these scientific evidence to do that. With the charcoal, and one thing I should make it clear is, you see some of these police checkpoints, almost all of them are specifically designed for a specific purpose. We have the police MTTD, they are well trained for vehicular or traffic enforcement. Some of the checkpoints may be for other criminal checks, and it is not all checkpoints that do that. But as police officers, anything that borders on or infract the law, we do check.
I've blamed the police a little bit. Now let me blame passengers, because maybe you would be able to answer. Now, what is it that will let 21 people sit in the car? And, obviously the driver is not driving well. It's just too fast. And are they not able to tell the driver that, hey, this is not right? In your dealings, what are the reasons?
It is very, very unfortunate, and I must say that it is one of the major campaigns for the year. We have what we call the passenger empowerment. It is believed that any passenger has a contractual agreement with the driver, or let's say the transport union. So you have a right. And it is also said that in case of crash or road traffic accident, the immediate victims are usually the occupants. So it is always necessary not to keep quiet, especially when you realize the driver is driving in a manner that is endangering your life. So we always talk about defensive driving. But on that same point, in educating the passengers, we do tell them we must be civil in cautioning the drivers. And if they refuse to adhere to defensive driving, you just mentioned numerous police checkpoints, report the so-called driver. And I believe even if he's warned or stopped or checked, we will save lives.
I mean, may I suggest this? I don't know how it will work, maybe, but let's say, you, a police officer, should know, or generally, that, look, from Accra to Koforidua should be maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. Load from Circle to get to Koforidua. So could the GPRTU, time that, look, if you leave here at 12 and you get to Koforidua before 2, you've offended, you've broken the law. So that there's no need for that car to get there early, because even as soon as you enter the station, it will say, no, hold on, you were driving too fast because you arrived early. And if they have to go to Koforidua and park the car and wait, it will be of no need to. I don't know if it would.
These are some of the measures discussed, and fortunately some of the unions do implement it.
Okay.
That is why we always advise passengers to board vehicles at recognized terminals, because for them they have supervisors who check. They record time of departure, and when you arrive at your destination, their counterparts there will also and we are hoping that most of these unions will implement similar to check the excessive speeding we are talking about. Notwithstanding, I think with the new speed guns we've acquired, the intermittent check will also help. And don't also forget, during this time of the year, we saturate the streets. The enforcement is really done on the highways. In the build-up areas or the metropolitan centers, we do much of traffic management. And the education is also there. As I'm speaking, the new director for the MTTD and his staff officer, that is ACP Sapon and DSP Sasso respectively, are on the field seriously doing mandate work.
Let's look at Okada, motorbikes. Do they have a different set of rules that we are yet to read about? These motorbikes.
The legal books will tell you vehicles include even bicycle, that is man-powered bicycle and engine-powered bicycle. We are aware.
Are the motorbike riders aware?
They are. Some of them are ignorant though, but they are supposed to know that they are also vehicles and are not exempted from any of the traffic rules. But let me quickly also add that enforcing traffic laws when it comes to motor bikers, because it is a fast vehicle, I normally hear people saying you see police at certain intersections but they don't do anything about it. It is not so easy, and we've also through experience realized that when we chase them certain times it results in fatality. So we use strategy to get them. Sometimes you put up your strategy to caution would be indisciplined bikers, because the Okada people we do arrest sometimes, you will be surprised to see a policeman pretending to be a pillion rider. So when you charge him, then the evidence becomes clear. It is not that we've just left them, but there are strategies.
Aren't you overwhelmed? I think the police are a bit overwhelmed.
The new command has promised to deal with Okada ruthlessly. It is not just the commercialization, but in discipline.
Because don't forget, you have political pressure saying leave them alone, don't arrest them, these people vote for us, so you have political pressure, and then you have the rules to follow.
There will always be upstream challenges, but as I said, as law enforcers, until our parliament reverse the law as it stands now, we are mandated to enforce the law. And I can say that the new command is committed and willing to do exactly that.
Because the impunity is just beyond belief. 3, one rider, 2 pylons, no helmet, no rear view. Just right at the back here. That's where they sell the motorbikes. And every 5 minutes they do a repair. They have to test it. They ride through the railings. Nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens.
It is a worrying trend. It is a worrying trend. And even you look at the fatality list, you realize that of the motorbikes is not going down. And it is a commitment we've all ensured ourselves to embark on this year vigorously.
This is just a yearly talk, because come every December we have this talk and then that's it. We let it go, because clearly if you're bitten once or twice, That's it. Nobody will stop. If I know that, hey, if I go this way, like you're saying, at the mall, 1 week, that's it, solved. Everybody now doesn't want to drive as if they were passing the traffic and cut across. So I mean, what's so difficult that makes the enforcement difficult?
It is not as difficult as we see it, but as I mentioned earlier, collectively we must all understand that being disciplined itself is safety.
No, but nobody wakes up and wants to be disciplined unless they know there's a punitive thing. Otherwise, why would I want to be disciplined? There's a shortcut and I have to go the long way. No way, if I use the shortcut, I won't be caught. I will use the shortcut.
And that is why we do include the arrest method most of the times. It is not just arresting every day. The structures are such that the three prone areas, you need to look at all of them at the same time. But when it comes to intensify enforcement, we do. We usually talk much about it during this period because it is the dangerous period. You rightly mentioned earlier that this is the time demand for transportation increases. And most drivers see this period as, let me put it in a local parlance, their cocoa season. Milk it or maximize profit. And in doing so, they do infract on most of the basic laws concerning the road. And this is the time you intensify both education and enforcement. It has been realized that each year we do this, it minimizes what would have happened. At least the worst scenario is reduced. And we are just hoping that things will be improved better.
It's a message from Nana, I drive and I must confess the carnage on our roads is mostly attributed to indiscipline on the part of drivers. But this can stop when the police do not compromise their role by taking bribes and fully enforcing the laws. This is Frank in Chebi. Frank, good morning. And that's also, another thing which is not helping. They've tried and tried and tried, and it doesn't seem to go away. It seems to become our culture. I am very happy to give a 5 cedi because if I was going to Chebi and I live in Accra and you caught me over speeding, I'd want to come back to Accra to court. But you tell me that no, I'm seizing your car and maybe I'm traveling to Nkoko, go to Nkoko, come back to Accra, and then on Thursday come back to court in Chebi. I'll give the policeman 5 cedis and go.
It is not a culture the police administration entertain at all. I must say that for us, on our part, there are clear-cut measures put in place to check some of these unprofessional conduct. We always say that the police, we cannot pretend to be all saints. But the good news is, I believe we've all heard of PIPS.
Yeah.
It's a professional standard bureau. We deal with our own. And it will shock you to know that people lose their job. Some even get their rank reduced. And in every regimental institution, getting your rank reduced is a painful experience. And we believe it deters. Not that we stand, we also, the law even says that the giver and the taker, the discipline we talked about, let us all be law-abiding. But on our part, when evidence is clear, the police administration ruthlessly will deal with such culprits. I
mean, it's not your area, but maybe because it falls within area. I mean, can the justice or the enforcement be in such a way that if you arrest me, you make it easier for me to pay my fine? And I'm happy to pay my fine. It's still a deterrent because I paid my fine, but it's like impediments are put in your way. I mean, I live in Accra. You cut me in Sunyani or somewhere there, and the court hearing is in 2 days' time, but the court cannot be in Accra, so I need to come to Accra and go back there. The guy arresting me too is maybe a constable, so if I give him 10 cedis, well, job done. And it's not that maybe I wanted to give him 10 cedis, but how do I come to Accra? Can't you transfer the case to where I am locally so I follow it up?
With regards to the sport fines, I think plans are far advanced. And hopefully very soon it will be operational. And we all believe that will reduce the human involvement in our enforcement system. The excessive human involvement usually sometimes lead to some of these things. And let me also quickly put it out that the police are mostly pressurized by society, and it cuts across the high class, the social class, both high and low. And if we stop intervening, one unfortunate thing about road traffic enforcement is a lot of us see it to be trivial. But the figures will tell you that we lose so many people as a result of crashes than even the robbery we are all scared of. You just mentioned over 350 souls perishing.
Just in the first quarter?
Just in a quarter. So how many people have we lost in this year as a result of armed robbery or other violent crimes? So let us all see road traffic situation as a serious matter. And it explains why the United Nations is undertaking the decade for the decade, that is the 2011 to 2020, a decade for the elimination of, let me put it in plain language, for the elimination of needless road crashes. And we are halfway through that decade. And it is necessary for all of us to realize that the figures being churned out as a result of crashes is even a threat to human security, if I may put it that way.
This one says, good morning once again, and many thanks for this topic. Please, something happened last night around my area in Ho. An ambulance carrying an emergency accident victim to the hospital with the sirens loud on, yet some other vehicles couldn't just park for a moment for the ambulance to have its free way through. Please, I think we need more education on how to respect emergency vehicles, especially during this festive season. This is Ray in Ho. Ray, good morning. That's another thing.
It's a worrying and indiscipline that we usually experience on our roads.
But then it could be because every car that has a siren, as soon as you see 2-3 cars parked in front of you, paying. So we don't even know which one is an emergency and which is not.
The police administration has even released a circular to deal with some of these things, you including our own. If you abuse the siren system, you are checked and punished. And it is something that we must all know, that emergency can affect you and I. There is a story about somebody who recalcitrantly refused to give an ambulance his leeway. And it was later realized that the victim in that ambulance was a relative. So you can't tell who is on board. It could happen to you. And the law is simple about that. The reasonable space you can get, if it is a single-way carriage, you just turn and park on your extreme right. Sometimes if it is dual-way carriage, left and right. But let us always make sure ambulances and other vehicles that are required by the law to use sirens, you don't know what they are attending to.
Let me read this one. It hasn't got a name. Send your name. It says, please ask the officer for me. The many police checks in the road on the road is too much and is embarrassing, especially traveling with non-nationals. I just returned from Cape Coast. On our way going, we met 4 different police checks, and all of the checkpoints stop us and demand to inspect a 1-week brand new minibus, whilst Trotro passed by without fire extinguishers and lighting system not working perfectly. Can they have at least 2 checkpoints? It's frustrating when you have to be stopped to ask for the same thing. Even in Accra, driving in traffic, a police officer walk to you and ask for your license.
I would say that globally, safety measures are creating some level of inconveniences. But I personally believe it is better to be checked so that you arrive at your destination safely than to be left on your own. Most of the checkpoints, as we said, is meant to reduce the needless indiscipline on the highway.
So I mean, we're hovering at 350 a quarter, so we're over 1,000 a year. So without the checkpoints, what we'll be doing, what, 500, 600 a quarter? Because I mean, the numbers doesn't reflect the checkpoints.
That is the problem all of us need to tackle. It is a universal problem, and until we all understand that road safety issues is collective and it is serious, especially being defensive and disciplined, the numbers, I'm afraid, may not go down the way we want it. But on our part, our main task is the enforcement, and we will do our best to make sure we do our part. Other stakeholders are around to also support.
This one says, good morning. None of the police visibility guys do nothing but waste resources of the taxpayer. They do nothing even when there's a lot of traffic and you tell them to help direct. They tell you it's not their duty. So why are they there? Good morning. This is from now.
I don't think this is very factual. As I mentioned earlier, they are also there for a specific purpose. But they do assist when the motor traffic department personnel are not around. That I know for sure.
A message before you go, but you've promised as a police officer at the turn at the
Fiesta towards Tetekwashi.
Fiesta towards Tetekwashi. Yeah, just the filter lane, right at the filter lane. An officer who's going to tell cars that once you're in this lane, you carry on down to airport. You don't come on the grass edge and come and wrestle back in.
Yes, I'll report to superiors, and as promised, I will take it up. And
so I'll drive on there this evening, and then I'll come and report as to if the police kept their promise. But what should we look out for before you go this Christmas?
First of all, to the principal characters who are referred to as the drivers. They are in charge of the steering wheel, and their inactions or actions more or less could contribute or reduce the carnage we are all talking about. Let us be defensive. Let us avoid excessive speeding, fatigue driving. Because of a lot of passengers at the terminals, you want to do 10 trips a day. Let us be very, very disciplined. Then secondly, to the passengers or the occupants, as I mentioned earlier, they are empowered by the law to demand for quality. When you are an occupant, don't forget, in case of a crash, you become the immediate victim. You could lose your life, and even you may get maimed for life. We have a lot of people roaming who cannot do what they used to do. So let us all collectively understand that road safety is a threat to human security, so that we do our best to reduce the needless crashes.
Thank you very much. But what a shame it will be if you don't see 2016. Can you imagine all the political campaigns and the hoo-ha that's going to go? You're going to miss all that. So please, you don't want to miss that. Be safe. And as I said, going towards weekend, regardless, without Christmas being enforced, is when road accidents are at its peak. So with the festive season added to the weekend, be very careful as to which car you sit in there, and tell the driver, oh, you're driving too fast. Now we're going to take a break, and then up next, Ohenere Giftianti will be here with surprise guest, having that wonderful, wonderful, interesting conversation which you don't want to miss. Chief Inspector, thank you so much for lending us your time.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
We'll be right back.